Hello, fellow stargazers. This is Dr. Vicky speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. We're going to be looking at the astrology for the year 2024. Yes, the whole year for the sign of Aquarius. That's Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Moon, Aquarius Rising. This is a general reading. It doesn't get too detailed. If you're interested in a more detailed reading, you can check out my monthly Taroscopes because I go month by month with the astrology on that for every sign of the zodiac. That comes out at the beginning of every month. Or if you really want to know your chart specifically, I would suggest a personal reading. There are links below if you're interested in that. I do a combination astrology, Kabbalah, and numerology reading that most people find very enlightening and enlightening, and it's like stuff they knew about themselves, but perhaps hadn't been reflected to them before. And so it validates really in a way your feelings about yourself, I think. And sometimes there's a few surprises in there. So it's definitely if you have the ability to do that, it's definitely something that can shift you in a positive way. All right, so let's take a look. Before we, that's right, get with the program, Scribo. The first thing I did is I selected a Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle card for Aquarius. Now, this will be the card for the year. So this is the energy for the year. Keep this in mind as you go through 2024. Remember, 2024 is an 8 vibration year. As you sow, so shall you reap. So there's a lot of things that will be coming to fruition. This year, it's also a year of manifestation. And if you've spent your 7 year, which was 2023, getting to know yourself on the inner levels and really understand your purpose and who you are, you'll be able to express that when the new year arrives. Okay, we have Lady's Mantle, which I absolutely love. This was all around. This was all over Ireland when I was there, and I know Lady's Mantle is a flower that they would often put in brides' bouquets. Okay, so nurturance says, like being held in your mother's arms, Lady's Mantle brings feelings of gentle reassurance and joyful contentment to your body, mind, and soul, especially during times of upheaval and change, which 2024 promises to have all of those things. Know that you are loved and fully supported in all ways. You have all the inner resources you need to be happy and whole. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I think I actually even took a picture of the Lady's Mantle in Ireland because I love it so much. Okay, so that's Lady's Mantle. Now let's get to the astrology, will we? All right. Let's see. What am I doing? Okay. I'm doing something technical. For your Aquariuses out there, you're like, oh, come on, grow up. You know how to do it. It's like, yes, I do, but then I get nervous. All right. Let's get started here. Let's get this started. All right, Aquarius. Snowdrops. I love snowdrops. Aquarius 2024. Aquarius is a sign of fixed air. Your mantra is, I know, I know, I know. You Aquariuses know a lot. Ruling planets are Saturn and Uranus. Why are there two ruling planets? Well, before Uranus was discovered, Saturn was the ruling planet of Aquarius. And then once Uranus was discovered, they sort of moved the modern rulership to Uranus. But we look at both. We look at Saturn and we look at Uranus because both are influential. Saturn is more three-dimensional, like everyday. This is your life. These are the rules of your life, you know. And Uranus is more of that sort of energy of awakening to new and different, and a willingness to open up to just to that, to something different and something inventive in a way. All right, let's get going. All right, the big news. Dun, 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 dun. Pluto goes into Aquarius again. Now, Pluto starts the year in Capricorn. It's at the last degree of Capricorn, and on the 20th of January, it moves into Aquarius. That is the same day that the sun moves into Aquarius. So for you, the sun and Pluto, and I don't have the sun here because the sun moves around so much, right? Every month it moves in a new place. But this sort of energy of the sun moving into Aquarius, Pluto moving into Aquarius, all on the same day really brings that sort of Aquarian vibe to you. To It's in your first house, so you're going to be your Aquarian self, which is different for different people. So you can decide who you are and how you're going to express yourself. But there is this definite like surge of Aquarian energy, and of course Aquarius is an energy of humanitarianism, and we certainly almost every other commercial on my feed, right? Although this might be because I am who I am, because they do sort of align it to what you look at and stuff. So you're seeing what you are interested in seeing, even if is all these aid, right? The aid commercials about all these places, all this war and all these people suffering in war and climate disaster and all of this. And so it's in our face for sure, as it should be, instead of, happening where we're not seeing it. So the thing is, we're going to see more of this, and we're going to be required to act on it. And, hopefully all this energy moving into Aquarius will help to uh, align people, not just you, because you're aware of this, I think. I mean, you're an Aquarian, so you already have the worldview that, you know, we all have the right to, uh, you know, safety and happiness and all those humanitarian things and opportunity and equal opportunity and all that. That's all Aquarian energy. But more and more people are going to see the need for that. And that's good, because if we're going to survive and thrive through this period, we have to start being better friends to one another. And of course, Aquarius is in a way the energy of friendship. And so your friendly, albeit more detached energy of Aquarius will become prominent, and we'll see more of that energy coming out. And you'll be the poster child for humanitarian stuff. So that's cool, right? Now, Saturn, the planet of the other ruling planet, is in Pisces. It's in Pisces all year. It goes from about 5 degrees of Pisces to 20 degrees of Pisces, and then it retrogrades back. And I think it ends the year at about 13 or 14 degrees of Pisces. And then next year it goes through the end of Pisces, et cetera, et cetera. Saturn is generally in a sign for about 2.5 years. I think it's a little longer this time with Pisces. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So things are being wrapped up. Things are being wrapped up. And this is happening in your second house, And so Saturn is the tester. And you have the second house in Pisces. So the thing that you value is humanity and compassion and all those Piscean things, the possibilities, right? Now, Saturn's in there sort of going through. Saturn in Pisces requires all of us to sort of connect with our spiritual, um, our spiritual purpose in a way, you know, and the need for compassion and the need for aid and the need for unconditional love and the need for forgiveness. So you might be experiencing that as well, especially around issues of what's most important to you. So perhaps with Saturn in this place, you've had to really decide whether it's worth being angry or being distanced from people you really love, and practicing forgiveness to sort of mitigate and let that go. Now, you don't have any control over whether the other person is going to forgive, but it's really about releasing you anyway. So it doesn't really matter if they forgive you or not. Because what happens with that is, if you're not willing to let go, sort of let go and let God in these situations, they will rule you. And that person shouldn't be ruling you. You need to be actuating yourself. And forgiveness is a great tool to help actuate yourself. And some things are really hard to forgive because they might seem unforgivable. But Saturn's going to be there for a while, and Neptune is there for 14 years. So eventually, you'll let it all go. All right, so let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is retrograde, of course. It's usually retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. This year, it's going to be retrograde 3 times, and most of it occurs in fire. So we have the first Mercury retrograde occurring in the sign of Aries. Here we go. Aries. This occurs on April Fool's Day. You can't make this stuff up, and goes, I think, to the 25th. Oh, I forgot. I have to get my book. I have my notes. Hold on 1 second. I thought I had everything in front of me. Isn't that always the way? All right. I have my book. Okay, so the first Mercury retrograde, 4/1, April Fool's Day, to 4/25. And Mercury goes from 28 degrees of Aries to 17 degrees of Aries. So if you know your chart and you may have an Aries planet or a Sag planet or a Leo planet or a Virgo planet, that's where all the retrogrades are happening this year, you will know that Mercury will go over that planet 3 times, and 3 times a charm. So you get it right. Finally, you get it right usually at the end. So we also have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Virgo, starts in the sign of Virgo, but at 4 degrees of Virgo. So it retrogrades pretty quickly back into Leo. So we can call it an earth fire retrograde, but mainly fire, spends most of the time in fire. And when it's in Virgo, it's sitting in that 8th house. Good idea to double check your taxes, or, well, that's not really the time of year because it happens in August. But you may want to just check where you things like signing things that get you into more debt. You want to make sure you know what you're doing at that time. It retrogrades back into Leo. And so then the retrograde Mercury is in your house of relationship. And so you may be reconsidering some of your relationships, whether they be marriage relationships. It's contractual stuff. So it could be marriage, it could be business relationships, anywhere kind of where you signed a contract. And if you are going to sign a contract like that at that time, you want to triple check your stats, as it were. The last Mercury retrograde occurs on the 26th of November, and it goes to December 14th. So that's like Thanksgiving to the first 2 weeks of the holiday season. And that's going to be happening in the sign of Sagittarius. And that is happening in your 11th house. 11th house is your goals, your new goals. It's your friendships. It's your networks. It's group orientation. Of course, it is the natural house for Aquarius. So it is a house that you're very familiar with if you're an Aquarius. There are many similar things about the 11th house and the fact that you're an Aquarius. Although they're not synonymous, they are sort of aligned, right? And so rethinking all of those things. It's also, the 11th house is a technical house, in computers and networks, social media, all that stuff. Reevaluation of maybe how much time you spend on that stuff, right? Or is it being useful to you, or can you use it in a better way? Can you utilize what's available as far as networks to be more efficient or more aligns with your vision, because we're dealing with fire, and fire, especially in Sagittarius, is about vision. Okay, so we have the nodes of the moon. Did I put them in? Yes. So we have the nodes of the moon this year, the whole year, in the North Node in Aries, the South Node in Libra. Now that nodal shift occurred at the end of July, and had a immediate square of Pluto to the nodes. And actually 2023, the whole year, was very intense because for the most part, Pluto squared the nodes for the whole year, even when it was in the previous signs of Scorpio and Taurus, North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. Then it shifted into Aries and Libra, and then Saturn was in, Pluto was in Capricorn, squaring the nodes. So it's been very, very intense. Now Pluto is off the nodes, and eventually Pluto is going to be trining at the end of the year. Pluto is going to be trining the south node and sextiling the north node. So there's more opportunity to actually change things that we learned through the process of the nodes moving through those signs, right? But for you, the north node is in your third house. The south node is in your ninth house. The ninth house is what you believe to be true. It's your philosophy of life. And the south node is about releasing. So there are some things that you're going to have to let go of, right? Some sacred cows maybe that you're going to have to put up on to sacrifice in order for you to move forward in a more integrated. What was the card for you? Oh, did I lost it? Nurturance. It was nurturance. Okay. A more integrated way. I thought maybe the card would connect. So those are the Mercury retrogrades. I gave you the dates, right? The last Mercury retrograde, 22 degrees of Sag back to 7 degrees of Sag. Okay. Let's see. Saturn, we talked about Saturn, we talked about Neptune, we talked about this. And so at the nodes, we have the eclipses. We have 4 eclipses this year. They start with full moons, the first eclipse of the eclipse season, both of the North Node eclipse season, which happens in March and April, and then the South Node eclipse season, which happens in September and October, start with a full moon lunar eclipse, and then we have the new moon after that. So at the end of March 25th, I think. Let me look. Yes, we have a full moon lunar eclipse at 7 degrees of Libra. We have that here. Now, full moons are illumination. So something could be illuminated for you that you need to release around relationships, around contracts, around your relationship to your beliefs. And then when the new moon comes 2 weeks later, it's a new moon at 20 degrees of Aries. That falls in your third house. That Aries North Node, the new moon solar eclipse Aries in that third house, means opening up to new ideas and communication. And to people in your immediate environment, perhaps you have some siblings you need to, maybe this is what a lot of this forgiveness has to go around, siblings, because we do have the North Node in that house. And the North Node in Aries always asks us to initiate something new, but we can't initiate until we let go of something old, right? And so that's the process that's going. Now that eclipse is actually going to be a total solar eclipse, the one on the 8th of April, and we're going to be able to see it in the United States. It goes from Maine to, I think, Texas. It crosses this way. So if this is Maine and this is Texas and this is the West Coast, it goes this way. Now, back in 2017, we had the one from Oregon to the Carolinas that went this way. So we actually have a spot where it crosses, kind of like this. X marks the spot. Southern Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, that area right there. That's where it meets. And we'll see what that does, because the first one that happened split the United States in half. So there is now a cross of that, and we'll see what that means. And of course, 2024 is the presidential election. So 2024 in the United States is going to be somewhat of a free-for-all, honestly, but we will navigate it right together. Okay, not to worry. Worrying doesn't help anything. Actuating yourself and doing your thing is the best thing you can do in these situations. So continue to be who you are. Authentically, not who other people expect you to be or who your parents told you to be or any of that stuff. Of course, you're an Aquarius, so you're going to be a contrarian in a way anyway. But don't be a contrarian for the sake of contrariness. I don't think that's a word. Anyway, if you're going to be contrary, have it based on a truth within you, as opposed to a reaction to something outside of you, right? Okay. All right, what am I looking at now? And then we have in the northern hemisphere anyway, the fall eclipses, which if you live down under would be the spring eclipses, but they are happening in September and October, and they are south node eclipses. So it's like more of a release and a let go. That starts again with a full moon lunar eclipse. That full moon lunar eclipse is actually happening in the sign of Pisces. It's actually 26 degrees of Pisces. It will be conjunct Neptune. And so, talk about forgiveness. This particular full moon is rife with the need to let go and let God. And then we have the new moon eclipse, which occurs on the 2nd of October. That's at 11 degrees of Libra. It is happening at the South Node. And so it's about starting something new, but it's also, because it's the South Node, it could be starting a process of letting go in some way. And because we're dealing with Libra, we're dealing with the idea of fairness. What's fair? What's the rule of law really is sort of a Libra thing. It's also cosmic justice. So we'll see what that means. And of course, that's happening in October. Now, I talked about Pluto being in Aquarius. I just want to mention that it moves into Aquarius on the 20th, the same day that the sun moves into your sign of Aquarius. So that's super duper Aquarius. But it does go back into Capricorn. It goes back into Capricorn on September 3rd, and it's there until November 20th. It retrogrades back into Capricorn, and then in I think it's the 13th of October, it stations direct. Now you have to remember this is right around the time of the presidential election. And then it starts to move forward through Capricorn and leaves Capricorn on Joe Biden's, is that his 82nd or 83rd birthday? 82nd? I don't know. Well, he's old. Anyway, but yeah, so that happens. And then it's out, and then it's in Aquarius for 20 years. So you have Pluto in your first house for the next 20 years. And the first house is the I am house. And Pluto is a transformational energy. So you are going to go through many transformations over the next 20 years, God willing. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, has been in Taurus since May of 2023. It's there until May 25th of 2024. And then it moves into Gemini, sorry. And Gemini is a fellow air sign. And so there's a trine of the Jupiter and Gemini energy to your Aquarian energy. And so, it falls in your house of creative self-expression. And so this will be a time when Jupiter moves into Gemini, where you will find yourself being more creatively self-expressive. Would be and it's there for about a year. So this would be a good time for you to create something, whatever it is, write something, draw something, invent something, right? As Jupiter moves through that house. It's also the house of children, so there can be more expansion around children and communication. Uranus is still in Taurus all year. It's been sitting in your fourth house, sort of shaking the very foundations, shaking maybe some memories of the past and of childhood. And maybe that's part of the forgiveness piece and dealing with your siblings and all of that. There could have been some trauma that gets uncovered with Uranus there. Uranus does awaken us to something that was just under our conscious awareness. Like mostly it's under our conscious awareness, and then Uranus sort of brings it up like suddenly, and you're like, whoa, what was that? Like you're going along just fine, and all of a sudden there's something in your face that you didn't expect. That's how Uranus works. And it's in the lowest, in the most intimate place in your chart, the fourth house. It's the house of soul. It's the house of family. It's the house of roots and ancestors. And so you get some illuminations. That's a 7-year journey, so that's still going to continue. It's been happening. It's been happening since 2000, I think 18 is when it moved in. And it was either 2017 or 2018 when it moved in. And it's there for 7 years, so you still have some time with that. But it gets easier because the first time something blows up in your face, you're like, what the hell is that? But after 7 years, you get kind of good at it. You don't know what to expect. You can never know what to expect, but you can get better at sort of navigating the rug getting pulled out from under you. And you're an Aquarius, so it's not that unusual of a situation. It's kind of an Aquarian thing. And Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, so that's especially important. All right. Mars, let's talk about Mars. Mars does have a retrograde side. It doesn't happen until the end of the year, December 6th. It goes retrograde in the sign of Leo. It starts in Sagittarius and moves all the way to Leo. Most of the journey of Mars is going to be in the parts of your chart that are less conscious level. So there's a little inward stuff happening. There's a lot of things bubbling up through your house, through your 12th house. That's a karmic house. It's a house of undoing. It brings up ways that you shoot yourself in the foot, especially when you're dealing with Mars, right? Because it's all about shooting, unfortunately. Or I guess, well, anyway, let's not go there. And then it moves through your first house, your second house, your third house. This is who you are, what you value, how you think. Then the fourth, it'll go through the fourth house. And as it starts to sort of go through the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth, it slows down. Mars through the sixth house, when it's in Cancer, when Mars is in Cancer, will go very slowly because it's about ready to go retrograde. So that's going to be a longer period. At that time, it would be important for you to watch your health. Now that's going to be around, let's see, when will that be? That will be around the time of the election. Okay. So try not to stress out with that. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else that I need to talk about? I talked about Jupiter. I talked about Mercury. I talked about Mars. Venus does not have a retrograde period this year. So Venus is going to go right around the chart. She starts the year in Sag, I think. Capricorn. I think she starts the year in Capricorn. So she goes all around. So she'll be in each house for well, maybe not the same exact time. Venus is what we value, what we love. It's our relationships. But there's no sort of backup. Last year, of course, Venus was retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. So there was quite a bit of back and forth with your relationships, your business relationships, maybe your marriage, if that applies to you, and your open enemies. So none of that particular thing this year, but there's plenty to talk about. All right. Well, that is what I see for the astrology of the year for you. Let me stop the share here so I can, if I can find my little cursor. I lose my cursor all the time. I don't lose my cursing, but I lose my cursor. All right, guys. Well, that's the story, Morning Glories. It's going to be a crazy year. We're in an 8-year. So if you've been sowing good seeds, you will reap good seeds. And it's also a year of where the major chakra activated through the vibration of the year is the throat. And the throat is where we co-create with spirit. So, and actually we move out of the way. We move our ego out of the way so that spirit can come in and help us to be our most integrated self. Know that you are loved and you are taken care of, that you will always be nurtured this year, even when it seems like impossible. It's there. It's always there. Thing is, it's not always there in the form that you would like it to be or that you think it will be. So we always have to be open to what really is being offered to us, right? All right. Well, have yourself a wonderful year, a wonderful month, a wonderful day, a wonderful life. As I said, if you want a personal reading with me, there are links below. I do hour and hour and a half readings. If you can do it, I would suggest you do it. I think you would really get a lot out of it, and maybe help navigate some of the bumpier times that are coming up. And you can check out my mornings walking through the garden. This morning when I did, it was snowing. So how very Aquarian of the day to be that way. And so you get to see the garden in all seasons. And if you hang around till spring, it is the most glorious time to be in the garden. And I talk about astrology every morning. So if you like astrology and you're an Aquarius, I know you do, and you're watching me, so you must check that out as well. All right, everyone. Namaste. Take care of yourselves, and you're awesome.